You cannot have somebody at the age of my father, who is about 63 today, advising on youth matters, in as much as he or them, their parents, but time has passed the event. So let young people, our problems today, our unique thinking and innovations are quite different. We need to be given that opportunity. We are not requesting. We want that opportunity. You cannot occupy the wrong office. So the CS, be informed, you are going home.
Thank you so much, members of the press. With us here is a section of youth leaders drawn from different parts of the country, and we are here to communicate to the raising concern on issues around the National Youth Council elections. On 17th February, young people, we had a session with Waziri Salim MVURYA, and we delivered a demand letter that these elections need to be done as early as possible so that the young people can have an opportunity to be fully represented at the council. Unfortunately, 30 days later, which ends today, Waziri Salim MVURYA and the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs have not given any communication as per the agreement that we had, that they were supposed to give a proper guidance on whether elections are going to happen, which was supposed to be done on 15th of this month. And therefore, we are here to give a communication that the elections of National Youth Councils need to be done as soon as possible. And if they are not planning or did not have any plans to do that elections, they must come out and give proper communication and guidance on the way forward. Failure to which we are committed to ensure that whatever it takes to have the council functional and in place, we are not going to go to set back. We will come up and ensure that that council is functional. And the youth here are saying that we need representation, and not just a representation, but meaningful and intentional representation at the new National Youth Council. 13 years down the line, we've not had those elections. And recently we had engagement with some of the officials at the council. And it seems like the budget for that elections that was already allocated by the former Waziri might have been used to do something different. They are focused on drinking tea in boardrooms, planning for elections. Whereas they've not done civic engagement, they've not trained young people on how to vote and who to vote. So we are saying that we are not going to stay back and watch as the issues of young people in this country being misused and being taken lightly. Unfortunately enough, even yesterday, the Harambee Starlets were playing, and the minister concerned was somewhere in the coastal, chopping life. And that can tell you the level under which the National Youth Council issues are being taken lightly. And therefore, you are saying that, like we told Waziri MVURYA, that we are not afraid to constitute an interim council if he is not able to convene elections and give the young people an opportunity to be represented. We are going to constitute an interim council to ensure that we hold those elections for ourselves. I don't want to say much up to that point. Let me invite my colleague to also add into this critical issue.
Members of the press and my fellow Kenyans, for the last 13 years, we are all aware that the youth of this country have lacked representation. What I mean by saying lack of representation, the government had deliberately neglected the youth representation through National Youth Council. We stand here today as young people who have the backing of over 35 million young Kenyans who have asked us to present ourselves before the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports as an interim office, and we are going to work closely with the already gazetted National Election Steering Committee to ensure that in due course we are going to have a proper constituted National Youth Council. And this government has been in very many instances deliberately neglecting matters youth affairs. We are seeing that the Ministry of Youth Affairs is on the verge of launching a multi-billion project called Nyota, that's National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement. But the leadership of that, the people who are spearheading that whole project, which is a mega project, are not the young people. We are tired as young people in this country to being represented by the older people. We have the capacity, we have the goodwill, and we want to send a stern warning to the cabinet secretary that we are not going to sit back and watch the government misuse us as young Kenyans. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the press and my colleagues here. I'm Kennedy Sankara. I won't mince words a lot. The issue here is very simple. That fella, or the Kenyan by the name Salim MVURYA, I have met him casually and occasionally. He's a man who is not interested in any other thing apart from chopping life at the coast, as my colleague has said. But in light of the above development, the following ultimatums are hereby issued. That the CS, you have up to 7 days to operationalize the Act of Parliament 209 that created the Youth Council as the legal entity to spearhead the youth agenda. We cannot sit here pretty well. We saw Kiogora come, acted for several years. We need to, in fact, arrest all these appointed CEOs who appointed them on what capacity, merit, and the process, so that we find accountability. We saw the other one, Sasaka, acted for a very long time. Exiting the youth bracket, he went away. Now they brought somebody, Ochieng also acted, went away. Until when are people going to act on youth matters? In fact, the action is verbal and not actionable. So I would say that we are not afraid to organize. In fact, we are not going to agonize. We are going to organize. We are going to occupy, not verbally, but by doing it. We are going to constitute a National Youth Council board. We are going to suspend the existing advisory board because it's as useless as the word sounds. And then we are going to constitute a youth-faced, youth-led organization. You cannot have somebody at the age of my father, who is about 63 today, advising on youth matters, in as much as he or them, their parents, but time has passed the event. So let young people, our problems today, our unique thinking and innovations are quite different. We need to be given that opportunity. We are not requesting. We want that opportunity. You cannot occupy the wrong office. So the CS, be informed, you are going home. So in the light of the above development, we call for the immediate suspension of the CS or resignation by the same CS for failing to undertake very basic and visible responsibilities like constituting, a council. I think since the 1 million CS exited the office, that is more common. This life chopping machine in the name of CS MVURYA has never recognized even the election steering committee that was left in place by the previous years. So I want to tell Waziri, that is not your personal office. I pay VAT for you to do what you're supposed to do. So you have failed to do your job, and it's high time you shape up or you shape out. It is very simple. And I also want to advise William Ruto, stop being a man you are today. Why are you picking garbage in the streets and disposing them in very critical ministries? Ukiona waziri na hiyo tumbo yake anaweza cheza mpira. Hata jana Harambee Stars wamecheza mpira, the CS was nowhere. So give people roles according to their capabilities. We don't want the use of political offices and public offices to reward political sympathizers. Let us give merit an opportunity so that we realize the gem we have in young people. I don't want to be speaking about youth until I get to 40. So the CS, be ready. Nyota mumetuibia. You are bringing some scandalous project that is being funded by the World Bank to tunes of billions in the name of empowering young people. Youth empowerment can only be engaged through and realized through meaningful structures where we have the youth representation from the ward level all the way to the national level, not using political figures from political parties. You call these cartels, they parade themselves there as young people, and then you call it a day. No, that is not going to work. I think it has failed ab initio. So it's only high time that you realize that these silly events have been overtaken by time, and it's time that you act the right way. Otherwise, we are unrelenting. Just as we push the finance bills to its coffin, do not be afraid, because we shall come for you in the right way. Thank you. Maybe Nalwa, you have something to add on?
Sure. Thank you very much. And my name is Gilbert Nalwa. just like my colleague youth leaders from this country have spoken, I also just want to reiterate and say that it is quite disappointing to the youthful population of this country that for over a period of 13 years, we have not had representation through the National Youth Council. And according to the National Assembly Act of 2009, which established this National Youth Council, this election is supposed to be held after every 3 years. And it is quite unfortunate that we see the Ministry of Youth and the existing NYC Secretariat and the leadership doing and running programs and projects that are meant to impact positively to the young people without a legally non-constituted National Youth Council. And we as the young people of this country are not even asking for more. When the Kenya Kwanza administration came to power, the president himself, President William Ruto, pronounced himself clearly that he is going to make sure that the young people are given an opportunity to elect their own representatives to the National Youth Council and make the National Youth Council youth-owned and not an entity owned by the government. This has not happened yet, and we as young people must learn to hold leaders to accountable. And the only person who has the ability to make sure that this election is going to happen is none other than the president himself. And so we are asking the president to give clear instructions to the Ministry of Youth, because previously we've seen the minister, and just as my colleagues have said, the previous minister, Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, unveiled the National Election Steering Committee, including the roadmap of elections, when the campaigns were supposed to start, when the voter education exercise was supposed to be held. And according to what was unveiled last year in November by the former CS, today, as we speak today, we could be moving into the final stages of the elections, because this is a very vigorous exercise that begins all the way from the ward level to the constituency up to the national level. And if we are not going to give this opportunity to young people to have their own representatives elected to the National Youth Council, then we feel we are going to be left out in all the conversations that are happening in the country. So it is a very clear request and demand, as I may put it, from the young people of this country. We are here today talking about the National Youth Council, something that has been spoken about for a long period of time. But this is the time we need to actualize. The CS is supposed to be very clear. Just tell us whether we are going to have these elections or not. If you are not going to have the elections, then we find our own ways of representation as young people in our country. Number two, even as I finish, today the National Youth Council is rolling out different programs across the country. But the question is, where is our representation as the youths of this country? It is quite unfortunate, and today I will even pose a challenge to the president of our country, that tomorrow call a meeting of all the 290 youth officers, because I believe we have youth officers by the youth ministry in every sub-county in this country. Just do a call of all those youth officers and you will be surprised that none of all those people is a young person. And the question we ask ourselves is, are we not able to serve as youth officers? Because if we are saying this is a Ministry of Youth and the project that we are discussing are about the young people, then we are supposed to be intentional enough to have these young people to serve in these capacities, to represent their own constituencies. And so the question, our request is very simple and direct to the point. We really need to have a properly constituted National Youth Council. And it doesn't need a lot. If it's the budget that it's dragging all this process. I mean, if at the country today, every discussion is revolving around young people, we are saying we are pushing the youth agenda. Part of the MOU that was signed by Honorable Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, part of it is the youth agenda. In that youth agenda, we want to see where is the National Youth Council. Is the National Youth Council election part of the youth agenda? Because we cannot be speaking from one side and then we are not even giving priority to what is supposed to be given priority. So we really need to have the election. It doesn't matter who is going to be elected, but let us give young people an opportunity to elect their own representatives. And going forward, even as we launch projects that affect the young people, then we will also be satisfied from where we sit that the decisions that have been made by the National Youth Council are according to our wishes as young people, because that is a council that we recognize and we instituted legally and properly. Thank you.